Hi, this is Dr. Barby. I wanted to talk about BMI a little bit, very briefly today. You'll also see my video of my accessory work today. I am working on my hip flexors and my hamstrings, developing strength with that. And I'm really trying to fire my hamstrings and my iliacus muscles, which is part of the iliopsoas, the major hip flexor. So I'm doing low weight repetitions to really focus on the muscle that is already weak. If I were to do heavier weight, the muscles that have the strength would take over the muscles that are weak. So BMI, there's a lot of misconception about it, specifically in the medical community and the way we are taught. We are taught that a normal BMI is 18.5 to 24.5. And we are taught that this normal BMI is the healthiest BMI, and that we're supposed to tell everyone to be within that BMI range. And when we weigh you at the medical office and we measure your height, we are trying to calculate your BMI, your body mass index, and see if you fall within that healthy category. However, there are a lot of studies now, specifically the largest study was done in Denmark with 500,000 people, longitudinal study. What that means is they follow the people across the ages. So as the people age, they keep following them and see what happens. This study found that people at the overweight BMI, so BMI between 25 and 30, were actually the healthiest. What that means is that they had the healthiest eating habits. They ate nutritiously and intuitively. They had the healthiest exercise habits, meaning they exercised regularly, and they exercised because they liked to exercise, not necessarily because they wanted to be a certain way or look a certain way. And these people at the BMI of 25 to 30 actually live the longest with the best quality of life. What that means is that they had the least number of diseases and the least number of problems from these diseases. And this includes diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, a lot of other things. So they actually survived longer. What they also showed was that older adults who were in the overweight category, closer to the BMI of 30, were actually the longest and better living elderly people. So they survived better. And then what we also know now, we used to think that body weight and body mass index, as it increases the risk of all these diseases, diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart disease, and also high cholesterol, which is the cause usually of heart disease. What they found is that the correlation is not a line, it's not linear, it's actually U-shaped. What that means is that the people with the lowest body mass index and the people with the highest body mass index had the highest risks. And then the people at the bottom of that U actually had the lowest risk. And guess who those people were? They were the people at the overweight BMI category. So when you're focusing about weight and health and whatever you're doing in your diet, your micronutrient counting, if you're doing that, and exercising, if you're doing it with a focus to be really thin, or you're telling yourself it's to be healthy and to lose some weight, because if you lose some weight, your risk for certain diseases goes down and you're healthier, really that's not the case. What the case is, if you actually follow intuitive eating and you are at the BMI that your body needs to be at, because you are an intuitive eater, that is your set point weight, so your body does that naturally. If you allow your body to tell you where it needs to be weight-wise, that means you listen to its hunger and fullness cues, you eat what you want, when you want, stop when you don't want it anymore, and eat however much you want, then you have the healthiest BMI at that time. You're at the bottom of that U. And even if you fall a little bit higher or a little bit lower on that U, and the BMI still usually keeps you away from the extremes with the highest risks for all these conditions. In addition to that, what was also found in intuitive eating studies was that if you are an intuitive eater and therefore have a set point weight that is healthy for your body, and for what your body needs and for what your body is meant to be doing, you actually have lower risk of developing all these diseases than if you were constantly yo-yo dieting up and down, and if you were restricting, and then because you were restricting, you binge or you eat more than your hunger, and then you restrict again, and so back and so forth. You actually have a lower risk of these diseases if you stay at a constant weight, regardless of what that weight is, whether it's really high or really low, while still following that U shape, while not being on those extremes. Then you're being in a constant body weight because you're following your intuition and you're following what your body is telling you it needs and when it needs it. So you have lower risk of diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart disease, than if your weight was going up and down from dieting and not dieting and re-dieting all your life. So moral of the story is BMI, not so important as we used to think. We still pay attention to it because we're told to do so in the medical field. But I have seen patients who are very heavy, patients who are very light, and they have same results in terms of their sugar levels, their cholesterol levels, and other blood tests to measure their health status. So really remember, it's a U shape. It's not a linear correlation in terms of the body weight and your health. And as long as you're eating intuitively, following your hunger and fullness cues, you actually will be in better health overall than if you were not doing that. And here is the video of my workout today for my accessory work.
I really wanted that thing. I just want to sing. I love you, baby. Won't you bring all the flowers you find out in the garden? Don't tell me the truth that your heart has hardened, but you don't want me.
Thanks for watching.